Hey everyone, it's Matt here. I thought I'd talk about my Wave 1 tank deck that I ran here at the local thing here with some of my friends and local players and went 4-0 against the big guys. So, a little history about this deck. It started out originally as a Megatron Living Weapon deck, but I realized that unfortunately the cards in the current set did not have a good grounding basis for a tank deck, so we quickly switched it up to Dark Mount, Demolisher, and Megatron, Decepticon Leader or Tyrant, whatever his name is. So let's talk about the deck here. It's pretty cut and dry, very not too expensive to make, and does well against other decks. So we've got 3 Crushing Treads. This is primarily in the deck to give your tanks Pierce. It is fantastic because it gives them Pierce equal to their defense stat, and all the tanks have a defense stat between 3 to 4. Fusion Cannon and Megatron primarily will go on Megatron. Sometimes there's going to be a case where you don't have Megatron on the field, where this can be a dead card. It can still give someone a +1 to attack, but this is primarily for Megatron. You won't see it usually played on the other 2 characters, Dark Mount or Demolisher. Force Field is in the deck because it is a great defensive weapon. You're going to be going against decks that are hitting for high amounts of damage, and not only does this stop that or prevent some of it, but it lessens the actual heavy damage that you take. I really recommend running 3 of them in the deck. Wouldn't suggest any less. Reinforced Plating is fantastic on all your tanks. Since you're playing a primarily heavy blue pip deck, I really suggest playing Reinforced Plating. Putting the Tough 2 out there gives them that additional defense buff, especially if we go ahead and pull a white pip. There's only a few white pips in the deck, but either way, it usually works pretty good. Thermal Weaponry, fantastic card. Sometimes you're going to be running into enemies that are going to have a high defense value as well. If you can't grab those other Pierce weapons, this will get it there for you. Since your tanks do a squat amount of damage, these weapons will specifically help your characters. I have changed this between running 3 and 2, depending on how often and who I face. I've sometimes subbed in Energon Axis for this, but so far I've found that the thermal weaponry has been helping out a bit more in the recent meta. In Wave 1, feel free to sub these in for Energon Axis. I find that with my local scene that these do a bit better, since you want to try to... most of your tanks may actually get hit really in one shot if you're facing a really heavy orange deck or one of those double prime decks, but they're good for right now if you can't get Energon Axis. Blast Shields, pretty standard. They reoccur with the Hunker Down action that we'll talk about here in a moment, and they give an additional +2 to defense when defending against attack, but unfortunately fall off after the attack or the damage has been hit. So, and last but not least for the upgrades is going to be 3 Handheld Blasters. Only reason that they are in this deck themselves is because they have 2 blue pips. And that is the primary reason. Great card to defend with. You never really want to play this since your deck really runs a lot of orange. Yeah, so if it's in your hand, toss it. We go to the actions. We have 3 treasure hunts. This is here to primarily fetch out your equipment so that you can defend your tanks, Demolisher, Dark Mount, and Megatron, the common one. It's pretty self-explanatory. Scrap the top 4 cards of your deck. After scrapping the top 4 cards of your deck, you put all upgrades in your hand. That is it. Hunker Down, the star of this deck, I feel. Flip each of your tanks from the bot mode to the tank mode. Then for each of your tanks that is an upgraded with an armor, put an armor from your scrap pile on it. This will fetch you back at least about 3 sets of armor like that you can go with. You're bound to have a force field, a reinforced plating, or a blast shield in there by now, so it will always help your tanks out in a tight spot. Inspiring Leadership is a great card. It's been one of the cards that I've been slowly finding that it plays really good in most decks. Draw the cards you need, toss the 2 you don't. It's great to draw the 2 cards you can actually need, or sorry, the 3 cards you need. Pick the one you want, throw some armor that you're not going to be using, or those Handheld Blasters away. Plasma Burst, we were running Plasma Burst instead of One Shall Stand, One Shall Fall. The main reason is your tanks don't have a lot of health. And taking 3 damage is a huge hit to Dark Mount and to Demolisher. They have under 10 health, and if they get that damage on them, it's not going to be long before they fall. So you don't want to burn them too much. I feel that the Plasma Burst is just enough to do the right amount, and is great. Next, we have Leap into Battle. Standard card it is a giant growth of this game, +3 to your character's attack until in a turn. Pretty self-explanatory. The Bigger They Are is an amazing card. This triggers most times, but sometimes you may not trigger it if you're fighting against a smaller enemy. One of your characters gets +2 attack until the end of turn. And while it's attacking an enemy this turn that has more stars than it, it gets Pierce 4. So if you don't know what Pierce 4 does, it means that you do at least the minimum amount of damage that you deal when you're damaging with an attack. So if someone has a 7 defense and you have a 7 attack and you have Pierce 7, you'll do 7 damage. It just means that it's mostly unblockable for as long as you're doing that amount of damage and you have that high Pierce. So if you have like Pierce 7 and do 3 damage, you're still only going to do 3 damage. So anyway, last but not least, these have been swapping between a few different things. I've mostly been running new designs because I found that getting the equipment down has been a bit more essential than playing Security Checkpoint. Security Checkpoint does help with getting those extra blue defense pips, but you're losing a lot of cards from your hand in doing so. And most times I find when you play Security Checkpoint, you're usually on a loss. And if that's not going straight to your discard pile on a defense attack, you're pretty much just you're in a lose situation. New Designs is a build that I've been using with this, and I feel that it fits well, so you can get that double equipment down. You're going to be drawing tons of equipment anyways. Yeah, so that is the cards in the deck. So let's go ahead and take a look at the characters. Sorry about the glare. These little top loaders have a little bit of a glare in them. So we have Dark Mount here. Unfortunately, for some reason, the glare is still giving me an issue. So just a moment. There we go. My apologies. So Dark Mount. So he's a great tank. He's got 4 attack, 4 defense, 9 health. When you flip into tank mode, you may scrap a card from your hand. If you do 2 damage to an enemy. Great way to burn those big dudes and little dudes. Dark Mount, when he's in his bot mode, has an attack of 5, defense of 3, and when he's defending against a ranged character, he gets +2 defense. This is huge when he's defending against a lot of these new ranged characters, especially Optimus Prime, Battlefield Legend, has a great chance of defending against them. Next, we have Demolisher. He's a great card. When you flip to this mode, draw a card for each other tank that you have here. He has got 3 attack, 3 defense, 7 health. On this side, 0 attack, 4 defense. When you're attacking with Demolisher in his bot mode, flip extra battle cards equal to his defense. You're going to want to send him in first, usually, to absorb the brunt of the attacks. Now, last but not least is Megatron, the common card, Decepticon Leader. When you flip to this mode, you may scrap a card from your hand. If you do so, scrap an enemy upgrade. That is a good way to get rid of your opponent's nasty upgrades that have been bothering you. And he's got Pierce 3 on his other side. 4 attack, 2 defense, 12 health, 2 attack, 3 defense. So, as you can see, they work pretty well together. Anyways, this deck is still a work in progress, but so far it's been doing pretty well. I went 4-0 against Dinobots, Double Primes, Cars, and Bugs. My hardest matchup was hands down Double Primes, but the Pierce did get through them. They did win the first match on the play against me, but I was able to clean up the second round, as unfortunately they just couldn't get an upgrade down to defend against the tanks, to hurt the tanks, and my Pierce just blew right through their defenses. Either way, it was a struggle to get through those guys, and I assume that as the format changes and Wave 2 hits, we're going to see better cards that go in tanks. But this is just a great little starter deck for tanks, and I hope you enjoy it. If not, let me know what you think about it, any changes you'd make, and what you think about the current game state. Anyways, I thought I'd do this little deck tech. Have a great day, and thanks for watching, guys. Bye-bye.